While Patrick Christys, the GB News host and our Wednesday regular, explored a bit of multiculturalism himself at an anti-Israel protest at Oxford University, which is the ultimate university town. But even there, free speech is now not welcome by anti-Israel protesters, and bullying is in, as Patrick soon discovered.
We will not rest this close. Let us Palestine.
It's a bastion of freedom of speech, Oxford University. Do you think this might be a bit fascist? Is this a little bit fascist?
Palestine.
No?
Joining me is Patrick Christys. Patrick, remarkable, isn't it, that everywhere I see, it's here, it's in Britain, it's in Canada, it's the US, the protesters against Israel tend to be bullies and thugs, not interested in free speech, and now even at Oxford? Or am I being a little too harsh?
No, you're not being harsh. You mentioned a lot of very, very true things in your introduction there. You know, we can't possibly criticise multiculturalism and diversity. As we all know, Andrew, it is our greatest strength. And you only have to look at that when you see these Palestine protests popping up everywhere, or indeed how many people are on a terror watch list in Britain. People talk about the woke mind virus, don't they? But actually, it's infected Oxford University. And I think things have got very, very serious now. Oxford University is one of the top academic institutions in the world. And what you have is people there who have historically been straight A students, otherwise they wouldn't have got into Oxford University, who now, as a result of this particular cause they're backing, have dyed their hair pink, decided to put masks on and live in their own filth in a field, to go into support for a group of people that would quite possibly throw them off a building if they had half the chance. It is absolutely astonishing. You expect this kind of behaviour during the Eurovision Song Contest, but not from the future, political and business leaders of this country, and dare I say it, the world as well. The irony, of course, there, though, is that they do behave a lot like fascists. They call themselves anti-fascists. They want to silence any debate. They want to mask up. They want to hound anybody out of there. Yeah, it is an absolute disgrace, really. But the saving grace is that they are just embarrassing themselves.
Well, gee, I hope you're right there. I hope the, working class Britain is sitting there at home looking at this at the TV sets and thinking, dear God, who are these people? Patrick, I love paintings. Don't tell anyone, but I even collect paintings. I spend whole days happily at art galleries. But I've got to say, the latest portrait of the king is an eyesore. It's all that inflamed red and all that. I don't know, maybe someone will like that. But does it actually have many fans?
No, it doesn't really. I can only assume that the same people who advised King Charles to sit for that painting are the same people that advised Prince Andrew to do the Emily Maitlis interview. It does look as though he's decided not to leave a house fire at Buckingham Palace, doesn't it, really? Yeah, remarkable. Maybe it's a visible portrayal of the hell that Prince Harry has put him through over the years. Apparently, Queen Camilla does like it, though. She said, you've got him, when the portrait was unveiled. But I'm not quite sure exactly what she meant by that. The artist himself actually does seem like quite a nice guy, to be honest with you. Jonathan Yeo's got an incredible pedigree. Made a joke about how if the king didn't like it, then he might end up finding himself losing his head in the Tower of London. So it's a bold move. It's a bold move. Not a lot of people get it. The Republicans have said, look at this. It's a visible representation of the blood that the monarchy was built on. I think in reality, it is just maybe a modern twist. A lot of people are saying, look, what is wrong with tradition? He is the king, after all. Why did we need to have him in blood red and, kind of a towering inferno? But hey, if the king's happy, that's all that matters.
Well, yeah, but the thing is so, politic and polite that he'd never say he hated it. It just wouldn't get shown anywhere. And I think what his views will be seen and where it's hung in the long term, I think, Patrick. We'll see from that. By the way, there's been an attempt in Britain to stop public servants wearing the rainbow lanyard, a lanyard where you hold your little pass in the colours, well, there you go, in the colours of the rainbow, LGBTQ and the rest of it. It's a charge actually led by this minister without portfolio that I don't really know much about. But is she asking too much? I mean, this is, again, a free speech issue. Should I be saying naughty, naughty Conservative?
Well, it's a tricky one, really. So this is Esther McVey, who is the informally known as the Minister for Common Sense, which, after 14 years of Conservative rule, if you, right at the end of that, need to impose a Minister for Common Sense, it implies that maybe you've not been particularly Conservative throughout the course of those 14 years. But we can leave that at the door, Andrew. So Esther McVey wants to get rid of the rainbow lanyards because she says it's more of a political statement. And the civil service is far too political. She's right. They are far too political. They're taking the government to court over the Rwanda scheme. They threatened to go on strike over pay. I mean, it is non-stop political activism from within our civil service. The big problem, though, is that the actual cabinet of this country, so a table full of Conservatives, cannot decide whether or not this is a good idea. So the whole thing doesn't really matter anyway, because the actual governments can't decide whether or not the Minister for Common Sense should impose something that people think is common sense. And, you know, we're witnessing the fall of Rome, Andrew.
Look, I just got to say, Patrick, you know, it's interesting to me that these tribal gestures of we're in this cause and we're going to, you know, put it in your face tend almost invariably to come from the left. And I do think that says something about that mentality that I think you said, the hive mentality. I think that's what we're looking at here. Patrick Christys, always great to talk to you. See you next week.